Hello. Hello people, friends, potters and YouTubers. How are you all? I'm just here at the table and I'm just doing some sort of fairly routine jobs here, but you might as well see because that's what a lot of pottery is like, that, isn't it? Let's just focus down a bit down here on the bench here. You can see I've got the glaze there that I'm just stirring up and using, and I've actually been glazing. You can see there's some GP bowls here. I've got some tankards there to do. I've got these three oval bowls that are waiting to be done, so I'll just bring them forward here. Of course, as always, we're just going to give them a light dusting out with a brush. You can use it. You can use any kind of brush for this. Okay, so yeah, see if we can do these. I'll talk about them. You know, like doing a round shape like this is relatively simple, isn't it? We pour the glaze in and then we carefully rotate it, letting the glaze come almost to the edge, so it's about to run out, but we don't let it run out, and then we rotate it around, you see, with a steady hand. And then when it's all done, we pour it back into the bucket, and then with a wet sponge, a damp sponge, we clean off here the edge where we poured it out. That's one thing. And then you get a little bit more complicated when you have to do a bowl like that, a GP bowl like that with a pouring lip, because you have to start the rotation just this side of the pouring lip and pour it around like this, you see. Roll it around, I mean, rotate it. And then you've got to just carefully, and then you pour it out through the pouring lip. And then you just clean off. Clean it off. So, this glaze is basically a cone 10. It's a high temperature, pretty reliable glaze. It comes out. Hang on, I'll show you what it looks like. You know, it'll vary. Glazes will vary a little bit depending on the clay body that you put them on. This particular clay body on these has got some iron in the clay body, so the iron in the clay body does affect the colour slightly of the glaze. I don't know if you can see that, but that's like a sort of whitey colour, isn't it? Well, it's not exactly white, to be truthful. It's an off-white. It's like a bluey white, a very pale bluey white, and that's because of the iron in the clay body. If I put that same glaze on top of a porcelain clay, it would have been just white, quite a sterile kind of white. But on top of this clay body, you've got a bit of iron speckling coming through, and a little bit of, in reduction, I should say this, of course, it's in the reduction, in the reduction firing, that brings the iron to the surface and gives it this rather nicer colour than if it was oxidized. Oxidized is like in an electric kiln where there's no atmosphere, sterile, and you get sterile results, of course. So, go gas! No, that's a bit of a generalisation. There are actually these days there are some quite good electric oxidization glazes that sort of almost quite well imitate some of the more, you know, nicer reduced effects. Okay, so next I've got to do these guys, and these little these of course are just just GP bowls, aren't they? And we just squash them, you see, like that, and then let them go leather hard, and then we put these little lugs on each corner, and that gives you actually quite a nice little serving bowl, isn't it? So let's get some glaze. Let's see if I can just incline the camera down a bit, so like that. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so we've got a measuring jug here, sort of half full approximately. So we're going to pour in, and then we're going to bring it up to the edge. So we're going to pour in an amount something like that. Alright, and now we're going to just let it come up to the edge, and you can practice this at home, can't you? Or in your studio. Alright, you need a little steady hand. I'm just going to bring it up to the edge, but we're not going to let it go over the edge, you see. Okay, and when we've gone around, we're then going to pour it back into the glazed bucket like that. Okay, now the little bit here where we poured it, have a bucket of some warm water and a sponge, okay, and we're just going to now just carefully wipe that off, you see, onto the sponge. And taking the glaze back so that it is the same, so it looks the same all the way around, you see. Okay, and there it is. Let's do these other guys. So we're going to pour in. Take it up to the edge, rotating it. Once you do this a bit, you'll get proficient at it, you see. And you'll be able to do it easy peasy. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay, now make sure you get all the glaze off. One more. Now look, when you work with a pouring jug, use something to put it down on, like a saucer. It saves a lot of mess, you see. We have enough mess to deal with as potters, don't we, anyway, so we don't want more than we need. So rotating it around. Okay, back in the jug or back in the bucket. Wipe off. So, there they are, those are those guys done now. So, what next though with these and with the GP bowls? What I do with these is, well, with these guys I can't put them face to face, you see. At least not very well. Sometimes I can pack them in the kiln like that. Sometimes that will work. But you have to be careful with the wood ash, because we're going to spray these with wood ash, the wood ash out of the fireplace, and we just take it directly from the fireplace, and Yeah, I might as well show you this because, you know, this is something dead easy you can do. So the wood ash out in the fireplace looks something like that, doesn't it? I have one of these things. It's a sifter. So I take some of the wood ash, you see, put it in the sifter. You better wear a mask when you do this, by the way, because this can get, you know, and then okay, and then after that I put it through an 80 mesh sieve, okay? All right, but then what I do, I know I've told you this and showed you this many times before, but no harm in looking again, is there? So I then take the wood ash and I put it directly after it's been sieved through an 80 mesh sieve. I put it in this bottle here, you see, yeah, and then I've got this, this is like an old agave syrup type bottle, and then I've got one of these guys which you can get at your art supply store somewhere. You know, it's called an atomizer. All right, and I stick that down in the end of that, you see, like that, and then that screws on there. You have to make sure before I spray that, that it's, and I put my finger over the end, okay, when you do this. I give it a good shake till I see that it's, okay, and then I pop that back in like that. Okay, now we're ready to spray. And that sprays out onto the, here, I'll show you. Okay, let's just take one of these for example. All right, let's put the camera up a bit closer. Okay, so we're going to take the bowl, and I'm now going to see that? Is that coming out there? So that sprays wood ash finely over the surface, and it gives it a rather nice toasty look, a bit like these guys, you see. You see they've got a toastiness to them. Well, these are fired, you see, in the kiln like that. They're fired one on top of each other like that. And I have to be a bit careful that I don't put too much wood ash around the central part here when I'm spraying, because for obvious reasons it could make them stick together, couldn't it? But you know what, I just put these face to face together just after I've glazed them, like you've seen me doing, and then I just spray them, and I take them and put them straight in the kiln, and I just give them like a tap, say with a piece of wood or like a wooden hammer handle, something like that, and they just come apart. So again, you see the usefulness of the rolled rim, how the rolled rim gives a really nice locating point for the one to sit on top of another. And if perchance you've not managed to throw them the same width, the rolled rim is forgiving and allows you a little bit of leeway, you see, to be able to put them face to face like that. Alright, so yeah, these ones actually had a bit of bloating on them. I don't know if you can see it. Somewhere it's got a bloat on it there. It's got a bloat on it there, you see. I think it was a bit too fast in the bisque firing. and didn't get up to temperature enough. It caused a few bloats on some of the pots. Okay, folks. Well, just a few things to share with you there, and life in the pottery goes on, doesn't it? I'm going to be at the April 13th and 14th. I'm going to be in Tucson, Arizona, at the Southern Arizona Clay Artists in collaboration with the Romero House Potters in Tucson. So if you're from that neck of the woods and you want to go to that workshop, we've got one day which is demo and one day which is like hands-on. So please join us and introduce yourself. Okay folks, well that's it. Good to be with you, and as always, keep practicing. Bye bye.